The dynasty is official. We're living in the golden era of Las Vegas Aces basketball as the ladies swept the Mercury on Friday to win their third WNBA championship in 4 years. From Asia and Becky Hammon to the outlook on next season, we're breaking everything down Aces right now on Sin City Beat.
From Las Vegas, this is Sin City Beat.
Welcome into Sin City Beat. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm your host, Mike Davis. Sin City Beat is the show that dissects the Vegas sports world through the eyes of the reporters and storytellers leading the charge. This time, we're celebrating the Aces and their third WNBA championship in just 4 years. Joining the action on the panel, we have Case Kiefer, assistant sports editor with the Las Vegas Sun, Willie G. Ramirez, reporter with WGRamirez.com, and our very own Mariah Janos, sports reporter with Fox 5 Las Vegas. I got to do one of those.
Everyone's doing something cool. I'm like,
hey,
let me be weird.
It's a celebration as the Aces were dominant yet again on Friday as the Aces defeated the Mercury 97-86, a game in which they never trailed. A 4-game sweep in the first ever best-of-7 WNBA finals. And now the dynasty talk is solidified. 3 titles in 4 seasons. Case, where does this dynasty rank all time, not only in the WNBA, but in sports professionally?
Well, I absolutely loved Becky Hammon's answer to this question. She just said she's been there for all of them. She was there at the beginning. She played against the Great Lynx team. And she didn't quite say the Aces deserve to be a whole pedal above them, but she did say, a whole pedestal, above them. But she did say the league has progressed so much and the style of play is so much better. The talent is so much higher that this is the best the league has ever been. It's the best basketball anyone's ever seen. And that belongs to this team the last 4 years. So I think as far as the WNBA, you can make your arguments. I know you have to adjust for era, but I think they play the best anyone has ever played. As far as sports as a whole, I'd have to kick back just a little bit on that, not to be the downer here, but just because we still only have, 13 teams in the W. So you talk about some of these other teams that have won 3 straight titles or 3 titles in 5 years. You're doing it with a more full league. I know we're building, so they're up there. Greatest ever, maybe, conversation, WNBA, sports as a whole. Still a little bit, probably below the top 5 or 10 to me.
Yeah, it's interesting what you mentioned about Becky Hammon saying that because 15, 16 years she played in the W. Of course, seeing tremendous competition with Popovich and the Spurs. So for her to say that, knowing how everything is trending, is big stuff. Mariah, how do you feel about this dynasty? How impressive is this? And from an WNBA standpoint, let's start there. I know you're a Boston girl, so you know a lot about dynasties, but from a WNBA standpoint, this must be the top, right?
Yes, I mean, when I think about WNBA dynasties, prior to coming to Vegas, my knowledge really consisted of the Minnesota Lynx, led by Maya Moore. All of these players that are in the league now, that was the person that they looked up to. Every single one of them, Maya Moore set the standard for them to come into this league and do what they do now. And then Seattle Storm with Sue Bird. So I think those 2 franchises, the Aces are getting there. And yes, the level of play, the level of competition, even the number of teams in the league has increased. So that sets a new standard there. But, the Lynx had 4 titles in 6 years. Sue Bird had 4 titles. Yes, that was over a span of 14 to 16 years. So that one was a longer run, a longer drought. I think they're getting there, but I think it's wild to say 3 isn't enough. 3 and 4 years is very good, and I think the number of years in which they get it done is a factor as well. So they're getting there. They're on the cusp. They're definitely in the conversation. I'd say they're up there with the Minnesota Lynx.
But you would classify it as a dynasty, right?
As a dynasty, absolutely,
yes.
Especially from what we've seen. And the way they're trending, I don't see that just coming to a stop after this one. So
yeah, I think a lot of people were already getting eager to talk dynasty stuff even just after 2. But now after 3 and 4, Willie, you have to agree that it's a dynasty. Where you're an aficionado of the WNBA. Where do you think this ranks all time?
Well, all time in the WNBA, I'm going to probably put it second. A lot of people are going Minnesota Lynx, Houston Comets, Las Vegas Aces. I'm going to have to put them above the Houston Comets only because back then it was one and done series. Houston won a couple of games and that was it. They were the champions. As the league grew, the series grew and it eventually went to one and dones and then best of 3s, best of 5s. But right now we're seeing the WNBA in terms of the talent pool and what it's going to take to get there, as we saw with the Aces, right? almost in game 3 of the opening round, took a last-second survival of a last-second missed shot. The Fever take them to overtime in game 5, and then they sweep the Mercury. But that Minnesota team was special with Simone Augustus and Maya Moore, as Mariah pointed out. And it's closer to this era where the talent was, the caliber of play and the physicality wasn't as hardcore but the talent pool was there, right? We were seeing, as Minnesota Lynx were going into that Seattle Storm, the second run of their era, we were sort of seeing some of the veterans now in college. And then Asia got into college. So it was the beginning of this era. Right now, this is the dynasty. And people keep saying 3 and 4. This franchise has been built on what Lambier started. Don't forget, this was their 4th trip to the WNBA Finals in 6 years. They went to the Finals and lost to Seattle in the bubble against Breanna Stewart and Sue Bird and Jewel Lloyd, by the way. So this team, this organization before Becky had been to a WNBA Finals. Then it lost to the Mercury the next year when then in 2021, the Mercury went and lost in the finals to the Chicago Sky. So it's been right there on the cusp. It took Becky Hammon to come in and sort of just melding the personalities, rebuilding some things, putting that spread offense in that you saw that first year, and now we're seeing the fruits of that labor.
Of course, bad boy Bill Lambier, he's got 3 of his own. So
and by the way, he had a dynasty of his own with the Detroit Shock.
Yeah, so he set the stage. But all right, guys. Well, A'ja Wilson had another stellar performance in the Game 4 clincher, finishing with 31, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 blocks, securing the Finals MVP award. Coming up after the break, we're going to be talking about, is she officially the GOAT?
You're watching Sin City Beat.
Well, here on Sin City Beat, we love a good GOAT conversation, and A'ja Wilson is certainly in the conversation when it comes to the WNBA. Another tremendous performance in the Game 4 clincher. She finished with 31 points, 9 boards, 4 assists, and 3 blocks, securing the Finals MVP award, the second in her career. Now, at only 29, she already has 4 MVP awards, more than any other player, and this season, she might have had the best WNBA season to date. Get this, she became the first WNBA or NBA player to win the scoring title, the MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and the Finals MVP all in the same season. It's just plain insanity. So, Mariah, after listing all that, understanding all that, is A'ja Wilson officially the GOAT for the WNBA in your book?
I really didn't want to go first for this because it's so hard, but I think I'm going to say yes.
Well,
however,
you're in a very, like, your mood is, you're not so high on everything today.
Yeah, because the conversation, it's honestly a loaded question. That's why, because there's so many greats and there were so many big names in this league that came before her that really set the standard. But I think if we, last block we really talked about this new era of play and how the level of intensity has been cranked up and everything is a little bit harder. The talent that's in this league, there's maybe not a lot more of it. It's just there's more eyes on it. We're paying closer attention to it. And I will say for at least this era, I would say she's the GOAT. She is the player. She is the standard. And I think also what goes into that title, if you will, is how you make the players around you better. And that's A'ja's number one priority, is making sure her teammates are rising up there with her. And we saw that. We saw that with Jackie Young switching over, now running the point sometimes. And you see the way that she spoke with her teammates, the way that they were able to flip the script down the stretch of this season after A'ja texted everyone after that embarrassing loss to the Lynx saying, if you're not embarrassed by that, don't show up to the gym tomorrow. We don't want you here. Something as simple like that. That was so Jordan-esque to me.
Yeah.
And I think that is a big factor in why I'm considering her the GOAT. But again, you go back to the OGs from the very beginning of when this league was started. I don't want to disrespect them in any way, but I do think A'ja, again, it's kind of similar to my answer with the Aces dynasty question. She's not stopping anytime soon. Right. It's just going to get better. So I think by the end of her career, I think being in the middle of it and watching it unfold, it's almost like we were waiting for Brady to get closer to 40, and then we were like, okay, he's the GOAT. It is secured. We trust him. I think it's just
She's
on her
29.
way. She's 29. She's younger than me. It's really it's wild.
Right. She's 29. She still has so much more to accomplish.
Right.
She has such a Tim Duncan vibe to me, but with personality. You know, because Duncan has zero personality. She's got a great personality, but she's the best player on a team that's also a great leader, leads by examples, pushes her teammates. She plays both ends of the floor. I mean, it's tremendous to see somebody, just like we said, no other WNBA player has 4 MVPs. So she already got that. She's got the 3 titles in 4 years, and now she's Defensive Player of the Year, scoring title, Finals MVP, and MVP. No NBA player's ever done that, Willie. So where do you rank her?
Well, we're basing this off of one season, of those specific accolades, and that's great. So greatest GOAT of a season, sure, hand it to her. But if you ask A'ja, she's always going to give flowers to those who laid the path for her. And, you know, she's going to mention the Lisa Leslies and the Candace Parkers. She's going to mention the Simone Augustuses, the Sylvia Fowles, the people that played her position along the way during their career. So A'ja Wilson undoubtedly is en route to being the greatest of all time. She's undoubtedly going to be that. As of right now, I just think it's hard to quantify what she's capable of doing compared to what she's done already, because to watch her operate in this past playoff, the entire all 3 rounds was remarkable, and it put her on another level, 100%. But I have to go back to the beginning of the league, where the Houston Comets won 4 in 4 years with Cheryl Swoops and that crew. And again, we just talked about dynasties. I just think it's hard to put the label GOAT on a player when they're still in their career. The question really, it can't be answered as to where she's headed, as Mariah brought up and I've done in saying where she's headed. The question is better suited this. If A'ja Wilson, let's say there's the CBA, they blow it, and then the WNBA shuts down. And let's say A'ja Wilson says, you know what, I've made enough money. I'm going to go make money doing this, and this. I fulfilled my passion. And she never plays basketball again. Now you can ask the question, because her career is over. So has she done enough to this point to be labeled as the greatest of all time? I'd have to say she's top 3. I just don't know if I'm ready to hand it to her just yet. It's easily said, if A'ja Wilson plays 3 more years or 5 more years or 10 more years. 3 more years, I say that because she's won 3 titles. She could win 3 more like Michael Jordan, who they started comparing her to. That would give her 6. Okay, so I'm just not ready to hand it to her yet, although right now she's the greatest of this era, and that goes back to the Seattle dynasty with Breanna Stewart or Diana Taurasi. But if her career ended right now, are we ready to hand it to her?
Case, you were nodding with the top 3. What's your take?
I mean, yeah, how could Willie scoff at you calling him a WNBA aficionado? Everything he says, he's spitting facts. I totally agree with him. I'm not going to pretend to be like a great expert, know about the history of the league, but I have heard A'ja talk about this multiple times, and she's kind of a truth teller. I don't think she's going to lie, and she even said after they won Game 4, she said, I still have more work to do. She would say she's not quite there yet, so I'm going to take her word for it. She is in the conversation. This was probably the best single season in the history of the WNBA, but I want to see just a little bit more to get her all the way to the very top, but she's already close.
Okay, well, we want to see more of Sin City Beat, and you at home are going to be able to do that as well, because next, we're shifting our focus to the coach, Becky Hammon. What does this latest title mean for her and her legacy? We all know the role A'ja Wilson plays in the Aces' success, but head coach Becky Hammon might be the second most important figure in this dynasty. Playing 16 seasons in the WNBA, Hammon then shifted to the bench as a full-time assistant coach for Greg Popovich in the San Antonio Spurs. Then December 2021, the Aces hired Hammon. 3 titles, and 4 years later, the move truly changed everything for the Aces organization. So this title might be their sweetest yet, though, because they had such a rough start to the season, middling at around 500. They had a losing record even in July on the 25th, but then they got hot at the right time, ending the season on a 16-game winning streak. So, Willie, I want to know what this title in particular means for Hammon and her legacy, and do you think this is the sweetest yet?
I don't know. Mariah might be able to appreciate this with me. Could Jewel Lloyd get partly Coach of the Year for walking over and saying, hey, sit me? take me off the bench? And Becky said no, and then she said, no, let's do it. And then after being reluctant, she comes off the bench, and look what happened. So Jewel Lloyd could get assistant coach of the year, really, for making that decision. As far as Becky's role, here's the funny thing. We've seen in the past coaches with their system, and you adapt to the system. Becky Hammon didn't just come in and create a system when she opened up this offense and coached like she did when she coached with the Spurs or learned. And in the Summer League, where she won a title with the San Antonio Spurs, by the way, she was the head coach.
Right.
She changed the complexion of the league, where all the other teams started doing what the Aces were doing. We're seeing the teams adapt and play their side, not adapt and defend the Aces, but they changed their offensive scheme, and this is where we're headed.
How would you classify that identity? So you
spread
said
offense.
So she created a spread offensive identity that the Aces took hold of, and then the rest of the league followed suit.
And Sandy Brondello said it best. This is the number one quote I think I've quoted in the last 4 years. Sandy Brondello one day said, it's the Aces and the rest of the league's job to play catch up. At some point she said that. And then they started catching up. And that's what we saw last year when they didn't win it, as the teams were catching up. Actually, we saw it in their second run to the title, and things got a little tight. Then the New York Liberty made it to the finals. But I think when you talk about what she's done, not just with this franchise, what she's done to the league, she's created an entirely different look to the league.
That's fascinating. Case, how many other coaches in the W could have even navigated or made this ship end up at a title after all the, I mean, they got blown out in the first game of the season, all these things. So how many coaches do you think are even in her orbit?
Yeah, I think that's why this one is a little bit sweeter. I do think the coaches, to Willie's point, have kind of caught, she's the first one to say it, have kind of caught up to her a little bit. You know, the WNBA was slow to go to the spacing revolution like had been done to the NBA. She brings it. A lot of people are copying her. But why I think this one is sweeter is because what Willie talked about earlier, Bill Laimbeer kind of laid the foundation. It was in place. There's kind of a sense that they probably should have won a title one of those 2 years before Hammon got here, and that's why she came in and ultimately replaced Laimbeer. So we saw she could be tactical. She came into a great situation. She got them to win those 2 titles, but it was kind of the expectation. This year, especially after the way it started, it was not the expectation. I mean, after that huge blowout loss, sitting 500, we wondered, like, is this team even going to slip out of the playoffs? I think the subtle tweaks she made, the way she kept inspiring her players, I think that's what makes this one a little bit better, and I do really think boosts her legacy as much as anyone involved with
Mariah,
Aces.
we got about a minute left here, but you, I mean, we're always not just positive about Becky, because in the back office you love her, but you also gave a lot of, you always gave props to the front office and the moves that they made. So how much of this is Becky Hammon? How much of it is the front office?
Well, Nikki Fargas played a big role in that, and bringing her here. You know, she made the decision ultimately, let's retire her jersey number. Let's give her a little motivation, saying, hey, you're valued here within this organization. When you were a player, you were valued. You're valued now. We would love to have you on as a coach. They brought her on, and she became the first coach since the inaugural season to win a title in her rookie year as a head coach. And I think it just speaks volumes. Every time I talk to Becky Hammon, I learn something. And that is what I value in coaches that I interview and talk to, is when they are able to break it down and really get into the X's and O's, and you can tell they're enjoying themselves with it. It's like the one time you get Bill Belichick to actually speak, and he talks for the next 40 minutes straight. It's the same thing with Becky Hammon, and that's why I respect her so much, and just the relationships that she's cultivated with his team, the way she plays to everybody's strengths, the way she trusts her players. There's an open dialogue there, and her creativity is off the charts to me. So I think that's a big part of it as well, and we saw that in the finals this time around. We saw it in the finals a couple of years ago, where she's down her 2 starters. She's drawing up new schemes on the fly, and it ends up working out. And she admitted, she goes, I didn't know what we were doing. We just kind of drew it up, and that's what happened, and it worked out for them. So I love the way that her brain works, and I love the relationship that she has with her players, and I love just her fearlessness in her approach to everything. So that's pretty much why I'm obsessed with her.
It's a great endorsement.
Yeah.
Listen, we got more Sin City Beat just ahead. Don't go anywhere. We're breaking down the dynasty and what they got to do to keep it next. Welcome back, Sin City Beat. Well, the Aces dynasty talk is no longer talk. It's fact. 3 titles in 4 years will do that. Now, I want to know what has to happen for the dynasty to continue. Case, how do they keep this train going?
well, you've got the hardest part out of the way. You have the generational talent, obviously Asia Wilson. To me, it's just about unearthing the right pieces to put around her, try to find some value in that area, and as long as you do that, you're going to keep winning.
Mariah, what do you think?
Well, in the wise words of Bill Laimbeer, keep them together forever. That's Asia and Jackie. That was so apparent in this finals run. It's been apparent all season. They've been the 1-2 punch. You factor in Chelsea Gray, again, all the surrounding pieces. You keep Chelsea there, and you keep Becky Hammon there. That's my girl. I think the ceiling is non-existent. They shatter it, they keep going.
I would love to see it. Willie, what do you think they got to do in order to keep this train going? And if they do, how many more titles could there be?
You have to make the hard decisions, and that's getting rid of some of the I don't want to use the phrase dead weight, but the players that could become dead weight based on the unrestricted free agents around the league because of the CBA. There's going to be a lot of big names out there that people are going to be shocked. It wouldn't surprise me to see some big names end up in other places, and then you have to see the upheaval from those teams. But it's a matter of making hard decisions. Jewel Lloyd's unrestricted, she'll be back. Asia and Jackie will be back. Chelsea's an unrestricted, she'll retire here. It's a matter of those players down the row on the bench, which ones are going to go. Don't be surprised. I hate to say it because the fans love her, but I don't know if Kirsten Bell's going to last. That rookie contract is up. She may be the first to go, and then you fill in with a big name forward.
Are they, real quickly, 20 seconds, are they favorites for next year already?
No odds up because of the CBA stuff. So no books will put any odds up because they don't know what's going to take place, and there's so many unrestricted free agents.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye on that CBA situation. I want to thank our great panel, Mariah, Case, Willie. I'm Mike Davis. Congratulations to our Aces, 3 titles in 4 years, a true dynasty in our city. It's exciting stuff. We'll see you next time here on Sin City Beat. Go Aces, and have a great rest of the week.